Aguta VUCH. You're not allowed to say that word anymore. All right, Shavua Tov might be the better way to say it. We had a little bit snafu last week because YouTube likes to translate the words and it's a whole mess. Okay, we're not going to go into it here. So today's sponsor is Yossi Klein, in honor of me, I think, that I shouldn't forget to say Lili Nishmas Rusbas Mordechai. I don't know, I didn't read the email, so whatever. Says this email, this is a very interesting email, very long one. Everybody please mute yourselves, and if your name is Gershon Ben Moshe, also mute yourself.
Everybody's muted besides me, Eli.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise coming through your place, so please mute yourself. And I'm gonna have to revoke your things. You know what, hold on a second, let me see if I could. No, okay, good. All right. So this email, I think.
Really nasty.
Gershon, come on, no? We're trying to learn here. We're trying to learn the email. So let me see what I could say. I didn't look at this real well. I'm ashamed to say that for more than 10 years, the kids he's been watching a lot of movies at night, he says. And some guys from Borough Park, Eli Dykman and the guys from Shul, nudged him to give the Shiur a shot. The name of this email, it took 2 Ellys to beat Hollywood. So basically he saw 2 Shiurim and he's done with movies now for the last 2 days already. No, I'm just kidding. It's been a while. So let me just skip around here a little bit. Waiting eagerly for you to begin the Shiur to dive into the world of Gemara has always been so scary for me. By the way, it isn't about the Daf of Gemara, getting to know the Daf family. At 12, sometimes I find myself crying how big the Ratzon. Kids, I don't know, I should have read this before. But I started with you from Brachas. I didn't do a lot of it, but I did some of it. But slowly seeing my boys from Shul, led by Eli Dykman, joining, made me jealous. And seeing Yisrael Goldstein, and some of the Side Chevri, Yankee K, and Benzi. Wow, it's a Shul full of these guys. Tell me they learn on YouTube every day. I realize that he has to make a commitment. So there he is, he made a commitment. He's up to date. Hashem should bench you and your family. There's one good line here. I have to find it somewhere. And he says, I don't understand why. Oh, here we go. Sometimes I want to punch you for talking in middle of the shiur. Listen, Eli Dykman, you got to pick your friends here. I don't know what's going on here. Kitzer, so because of him, I can't talk anymore in shiur. We have here, Rabbi, we have Uncle Phil sitting in my dining room with his son, Eliezer. Right, Eliezer or Elazar? Eliezer. Here, give me the, what's this thing? It's better be a good one. Is it a good one?
We don't know.
Let's see. Oy vey. Let's hope nothing's missing. They come with gifts. Rabbi said they come with gifts. If you bring gifts, you can also sit in my dining room. Wow. It's a whole, I know what this is. Shee! Look at this, Rabbi Sai. It's another variety of Cafe Bustela. All different types. Shkoyach, beautiful. What else we got here? Another one.
One more. But you don't read the notes. You know,
I have to read the note. Rebelli, miss getting you a gift. I'm becoming a Saba. Mazel Tov. What could it be? What is this? Ooh. Oh, by the way, look at this. You got me that. That's up there. Hold on. Oh, look at this. Turn the daf, turn the page, amen, beautiful. Yishkoyach. So every day we got to flip it, or we could go to this guy right over there, which he also got me. Yishkoyach Uncle Phil, thanks. All right, so I wrote you this email. If people feel to share, feel free to share it. Yishkoyach, Reb Shalom Kushner. All right, so we're going back into Eruvin for a little bit, and tomorrow is back to Agata for a little bit. We're holding on Daf Yotes Amud Beis, 2, 4, 6, 9 lines from the bottom. So Abaye was busy asking his stepfather, Rabba, who was his Rebbe, a bunch of different questions about Pasi Birois. So holding my question number 4. Boy mine Abaye mi Rabba, chitzas hakonim kana pachis mishleisha. Can you use, here's a pasibirois, and here the kanim. You take reeds, and you put them in the ground. We made a calculation once. You only need about 5, because you're using lavud here. So the Gemara's question is, could you do a combination of lavud? Where is it? Let me see. How come I don't see it here? This guy, right over here. Can you do a combination of lavud together with pasibirois? Adiyumdim, because what's the problem? The issue is that there's a tremendous gap of ear from here to here. So that itself is a big chiddush that you could use an L-shaped bracket. And what if the L-shaped bracket has another problem? It's not even an L-shaped bracket, it's just a bunch of ear with some reeds. You're using lavud for the L-shaped brackets. In case I didn't say it, I said it all in the beginning, but not by the Gemara part. Fine. I heard that there's a big conversation going on in the chat. Did I say it? Did I not say it? So I'll say it a few times. It's okay. Wait a minute. We learned it, no? Rabbi tells Abaya. It says, what if the yumad, instead of being a nice solid piece of wood, an L-shaped bracket, it's a tree or a fence? Or here's the question. Reads. My love. So here's the picture again. If you have a tree, you have reeds. What do you have? This is a normal one. And then the Gemara says, no, we're not talking about reeds that are 3 tfachim away from each other and you have to use lavud. Loi gudriyasa de kane. It's a whole bushel full of reeds. And Rashi says that on the bottom, they are attached together. This is how they grow. And on the top, they become, fine. I guess you're not looking at Zoom. On Zoom, he just pulled up the picture. So the bottom left corner, but it's not fair for the YouTube guys. One day we'll get there. We'll have it on YouTube as well. So it looks like this. And this guy also has some issues. First of all, it's round. Remember the other day we learned about chokikim lahashlim. Can you take a round piece of wood and chop it and make it square, but you have to do it twice? Maybe I'll look for it here. Maybe not such a good idea. Let me see if I can find it real quickly. The chokikim lahashlim. Here we go. So I just took their well and I drew it. But you want to get to the brown part right over here. And you have to cut out the blue. And you have to cut out the red. So it's 2 chokikim, 2 carving. Chokikim means to carve. Do you carve twice? Or do you only carve once to make a square? Right over here, we're making a square by just taking out the red. That's 1 carving versus 2 carving. So that's a problem with gudriyasa when the reeds are in a circle. Ihachi asked the Gemara, Hainu Ilan. So then why are you giving me? You give me 4 cases here. Here's the Ilan. There's a tree. And you're telling me that this is round. So what's the difference between the 2 of them? They're both round and they're both wood. Velamai. So what's your option? You're telling me that gudriyasa is a tree. So what's your other option? That's not gudriyasa. That's just a bunch of straight sticks that are distant from each other 3 tfachim. That's also part of this bryce over here. It's a gadar. Where are we? Upside down. So it's this. This is a gadar. So what's the difference? If you say it looks like this is equal to a tree. If you say it looks like this is equal to this. So either way, why does it have to say it twice? You're going to say the 2 types of fences. So there's 2 types of trees. One is more solid, the other one has more issues because it's a bunch of reeds. Fine. So anyway, there's no raya, says Abaya, to his stepfather from that brisa. Ikeda Amri, and some say the same thing but in reverse. Abaya asked him, could you use a bushel of reeds? Gudriyas the kanemai. Amalei. So Rabbi told him to nisua. It says in the Bryce, one of the four fences mentioned in the Bryce is chitzas hakanim. Nida mishum diyuma. My love, gudriyas the kane. Perhaps it's talking about a bushel. We're talking about, it's an L shape made out of reeds, but they're 3 tvachim apart from each other. If so, then what's the difference? That is a fence. So what's your other option? The Gemara is saying in reverse, very interesting, because we're going to have a whole sugya soon that is also twice, and it's going to make it very easy for us. About 20 lines that's just the same exact lashon over. So therefore, then what's your other options to say that it's distant from each other 3 tefachim? So then it's a gader. So you're going to say no, it's round. Hainu ilon, then it's a tree. So if it is a tree, then it's 2 types of tree. So it's 2 types of gader. The bottom line is we have no raya from there. Top of Daf Amud Aleph. So this is question number 5. Oh, this is a very interesting question. What happens if your backyard, your courtyard, goes straight into the Pasi Birois? Here's the picture. Here's the entrance to your house. It goes right in. So what's the shaila? Question is, the question is, we know that a Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaYachid is usher to go from one to the other. You can't go into your neighbor's courtyard unless you do Erev Chatzeros. What is this Pasi Birois? This Rishus HaRabim they just turned into a Rishus HaYachid. Is it considered a real Rishus HaYachid that people do their residential business in there and therefore you cannot go into it? Or perhaps no, it's a special halacha of Rishus HaYachid. It has nothing to do with like a neighbor's Rishus HaYachid. Amar lei mutar has nothing to do with a residential Rishus HaYachid. It's a Rishus HaYachid versus a Rishus HaRabim, but you permit it to go from your Rishus HaYachid into that Rishus HaYachid. It's not required to have a special Eruv. So he asked him, Shtayim Mai, what about 2 separate entryways? Right here, 1, 2, from 2 different courtyards going into the Pasi Birois. You see, there's still the L-shaped brackets everywhere. This is a Rishus HaYachid right here in the middle of Rishus HaRabim, and the 2 doors going in. Is that different? Yes, it's different. Why? Amar lei asur, you can't go in. So the 2 of you, the 2 neighbors that have openings into the Pasi Birois, cannot go into the Pasi Birois. Amar Ravuna, says Ravuna, Shtayim asurim v'afilu irvu gzeir shema yoimru eruv mo'el ben apasim. So, what's interesting is, if you look right over here, in this picture, there's a doorway. I did it in red so you could see it better. Right over here. You see the doorway between them? Yeah? You guys see? So you can make an Eruv between the 2 Chatzeros because you have a doorway. The issue is that people outside don't know that there's a doorway. And they think that you're making a shituf mavais, not an Eruv, but you're making an Eruv between your house and the Rishus HaRabim. That you're treating this Pasi Birois like a mavui, and you're doing a shituf. Now that's a problem. Why? Because you cannot halachically make an Eruv between this part and your courtyard. This is not a mavui. A mavui is narrow and long, says Rashi. This is like a square. This is the middle of Rishus HaRabim. It's not a mavui. And people are going to think that you're allowed to make... Grab him. Take him away. Or call Lazi. Actually, open up the door quickly. Get the Kivi, tell him to take him right now because we have guests here. Thank you. Rav Amar Eivir Mutar. Where are we? Sorry, guys. The dog. The Motzei Shabbos dog. Amar Le'ei Asur. No, not pizza. The pizza came. We made sure the pizza came, but what happened was Kiwi didn't know we have guests. So he opened up the door, shoved a dog in, and ran. No, Motzei Shabbos. It's always like I think last Motzei Shabbos was blooper night. No, I don't know. It was like one after another. Fine. Eruv moya lebein hapasim. We're concerned that people are going to say that even if there's no doorway, imagine you don't have a door over here, that you can make a shituf by combining this to your chutzner, and therefore you could go from this courtyard to this courtyard without a door between them. You hear what's going on here? Even without a doorway, you might come to confuse it. So that's why I said, even if there is a doorway, don't make an Eruv, so that people don't think that the Eruv that you made is something that helps you go from your house, from your courtyard into the Mavui, into the Pasi Birois, I should say. That doesn't work. Rav Amar, Eruv mutar. If there's a doorway, the Eruv works. There's actually a brisa that says word for word like you, Rava. It says it's not even a raya. This is like, it doesn't get any better. It's word for word. If you have a chutzner that goes directly into the pasi birais, you could carry it from your courtyard into the pasim, and the reverse as well. But if there are two doorways, two different courtyards owned by two different people, also. It says exactly what Rava said. That's only when there's no Eruv. Aval Eruv mutarim. If there's an Eruv between the two courtyards, then it's mutar to go into the Pasi Birais. Leave it to have it to give to the Ravuna. Isn't this a bomb question, a brisa that says exactly like Rava and exactly the opposite of Ravuna, who says that even with an Eruv you cannot carry? Amalach Ravuna, he'll have to answer Hasam the Hadron va'arvan. So there's another picture that further from the door, we're talking about there's a doorway and therefore you can make an area from here to here. But more than that, the wall is broken down. And because the wall is broken down, that's why it's considered as one rishus. The two courtyards are one. That's why it's okay, because people outside notice that there's no wall between them. The wall is very, very wide. Who's doing that? Is that Menachem Ateh doing it? Or it's Gary? Who's on the screen share? He's the pro. He's the pro. We got to learn from him. You got a new job though. That's it. You do it once, you have to do it forever now. Number 6. Here's the final question that Abaya asked his stepfather, his Rebbe, Rabba, the famous Rabba. Yafshu mayim b'Shabbos ma'u. The whole point of the Pasi Birois is to allow you to draw water on Shabbos and give it to your animals, even though the well is considered Rishus HaYachid because it's 10 tefachim deep, but it's smack in the middle of Rishus HaRabim, so we create these L-shaped brackets. So as Abaya, Yavshu Mayim b'Shabbos, but if there's no reason anymore to draw water, so now that whole area, does it remain Rishus HaYachid? Can I ride my bike in there? Can I carry over there? Can I do stuff in that Pasi Birois? Omar lei, klum nasis mechitza ela b'shul mayim. What does he say? The whole point of the Pasi Birois is to make a mechitza so that I can draw water, but there is no water, so therefore my mechitza goes away in the middle of Shabbos. There's a small taisus on top. Mechitza einkan, says taisus. I'm just reading it because I had this problem, and I really enjoyed to see that taisus discusses it. Shabbos hoyel v'hutra hutra. We had a whole sugya. Remember when 3 people make mechitzos on Shabbos and one of them dies? What's the halacha? 3 people get a certain amount of saw and one person dies on Shabbos. Does it go by the time Shabbos comes in, or does it go by right now? And Abaya holds hoyel v'hutra hudra once Shabbos comes in, and this is a proper mechitza, so the whole Shabbos is a good mechitza, even if it falls down, even if the person dies. So over here also, even if the water dried out, it should be a good mechitza, as Taisus. Moida hacha mishum deleke mechitzas. Says Taisus beautifully. In the case where there's proper mechitzas everywhere, just one of the partners dies, okay, but you have good mechitzas. Or let's say the lechi fell down on Shabbos. We discussed that also. Great. But over here we're talking about Pasi Birois. The mechitzas are very inferior mechitzas. It's a special kula that Chachamim gave this particular thing so you could draw water on Shabbos. Why are they very inferior? Because there's more than 10 amma gap there. According to Rabbi, there's 13.3 ammas. There's a lot more pirza than oimed. Therefore, we don't have this idea that since it was good, Erev Shabbos, it lasts for the rest of the Shabbos. If there's no water, no mechitza, you can't use those pasibirois for just regular carrying. And that's the end of the sixth question. By Eruvin, Yavshu Mayim b'Shabbos ubo b'Shabbos mau. What happens if the well dries up? We should call it a pit, because we said a well is more like the water naturally comes up, it continuously comes. But okay, let's call it a pit, a water pit. If the water dries up on Shabbos, we said that the pasibiros is no good, it loses its shem mechitza on Shabbos. But what happens? Ubo b'Shabbos, it rained on Shabbos, it filled up again. Once you lose the shem mechitza, could you reinstate it on Shabbos? Of course, if it dried up, it didn't rain. That we already said. The boy name Dimar. We asked our Rebbe, who's our Rebbe? Rabba. Upasha le aser, and he said it's aser. Bo nami lo tibar, and also if it rains, it's not a question. Navali mechitza asui b'Shabbos. That's a mechitza that happened by itself on Shabbos. V'tanya. Kol mechitza asui b'Shabbos. Bein b'shoyik, bein b'meiz, bein b'yonis, bein b'ratzim. Whether he did it on purpose, whether it happened by accident. Shma mechitza. It's considered a mechitza. Ask the Gemara, v'lavit marla, merav Nachman leishonu el lizroik. So we should all know what this means, because we had this a number of times in our Masechta right here in Eruvin. What's the difference between lizroik and letaltal? Lizroik always means a dairaisa. Letaltal means the rabbanon. That's all it means. Lizroik means if I were to throw something from the Rishus Rabbim and land it in these mechitzos that I just did today on purpose, then I'm chayiv misa. I'm chayiv a carbon. It's a dairaisa. But mid the rabbanon I can't carry there. Huge difference. You're asking me, what happens if the well fills up on Shabbos? Can I carry there? Don't bring me a raya from a situation that if I throw a ball into that place, I'm chayiv to bring a carbon. Yeah, you're chayiv to bring a carbon, but it doesn't mean that you're allowed to lechatchila go ahead and carry. If I do it on purpose, I build a mechitza on purpose, or by accident, all those four cases, it's a good mechitza midaraisa to be chayiv. But not with the Rabbanon. Rabbanon still won't allow you to carry. They'll say, listen, you did something wrong. You built a mechitza on Shabbos. We're not going to allow you to carry here. Says the Gemara, well, that's only when he built the mechitza on purpose on Shabbos, or Rabbanon gave you a knas, and they said you're not allowed to carry there. But if you throw a ball into there, you're chayiv to bring a carbon if you didn't realize. And if you did it on purpose and you had asra, you're chayiv misa. But Rabbanon still said, if you did it on purpose, you're not allowed to carry from house to house and say, oops, I did it on purpose, but I still could carry. They gave you a knas. But we're talking about it happened by itself. What happened in our case? In our case, it rained. You didn't do anything. You had a dry well, and it rained. Did you cause the rain? No. Hashem brought the rain and filled up your well. Now you have a reason that you should be able to carry in the pasibirois. Very good. Go ahead and carry. There's no reason to answer it. The only time you answer is if you built a wall on Shabbos and you want to carry in there. But over here you didn't build anything, it happened all by itself, and maybe you could carry in it. If there are pasibirois in the middle of Rosh Hashanah, so you're standing in Rosh Hashanah and you throw a ball into the pasibirois. Pasibirois is considered Rosh Hashanah. So you're chayiv. Says Gemara Pshita. Of course you're chayiv. If chachamim, or if we don't consider these L-shaped brackets a complete wall, how would you be able to fill up your bucket and feed the animals? Of course it's considered Rosh Hashanah. Consider Rosh Hashanah, you're chayiv. This is very interesting. There's no well. Zero well. You just went along and you made L-shaped brackets in the middle of a highway, in the middle of Ocean Parkway, in the middle of Kfish Achad. You went and you put your L-shaped brackets. But there's no well. Chacham never said you could do that if there's no well. Nevertheless, since if there's a well, it's considered a mechitza, so too over here it's considered a mechitza, and you are chayev. Honami pshita. Of course it's considered a mechitza. If it works by a well, it should work everywhere. Says the Gemara, what happened was that right through the pasibirois, on Kfish Achad, you have traffic. It's going. Ocean Parkway, people don't care that you put little L-shaped brackets on the sidewalk. They're going right through it. So what? So I would think that since people are traveling right through it, this traffic, they are mevatalit, Umayka mashmon. So what's the chiddush? That they don't have the power. People and traffic don't have the power to get rid of your mechitzas. Says Gemara, that's not, we said it already. Hamar Rebbe Elazar Chadazimna. Rebbe Elazar said it already. It's not. Rebbe Yehuda Omer Im Hoysa Derech Rishus Rabim Sakton. If in the middle of the passive rois you have people walking right through and through, you sell kennel dadim. It's not a problem. You should move the people to the side. In other words, that people are a major problem. They will ruin your passive rois. The Chachamay Meni Tzarech. Chacham say you don't have to move anybody. Halachically, these are considered walls. Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Elazar, the Amritar value. Here, Chacham taught you how powerful these L-shaped brackets are. Even if cars, people go right through and through, in between your mechitzos, it's still considered. Here, just there's a better. This is not for this at all. But if people walk right through over here, they're walking right through. You would think that these mechitzas are batal. Maybe these are kayam. The chiddush is that these mechitzas, even though they walk right through between your pit, between mechitzas and mechitzas, they walk right through. It's considered a mechitza. So what's the question? Rebbe Elazar and Rabbi Yochanan both say that these mechitzas are powerful mechitzas. So then why did you have to say it over here? In this case, that if a person builds brand new passive rights in the middle of a street without a well, that's considered a mechitza and you're chayiv if you throw into it. And even though people are walking through it, yeah, he already said that chiddush over there. In that case, it says mefurish in the Mishnah. If people walk through it, Rabbi Yehuda says you have to move all the people out of the passive rights. And Chacham say you don't have to. And Rabbi Elazar said, look how strong these mechitzas are. Says the Gemara Ma'asam kan v'lei svirlei. He was just saying, look what Chachamim hold. He himself doesn't hold it. In other words, that Rebbe Elazar already said it over there. Once he said it over there, you're right, he didn't have to say it over here. Over there by the Mishnah was the main part. Rebbe Elazar, the chiddush is that Rebbe Elazar, he himself holds of it. So he should say it over here, and we will know it over there. He should say it over here. If you throw it into the passive rice, so then certainly if people walk through, we learn here from there. In other words, that sugi is the main one where people walk through the passive rice, and from that, the Talmidim said, look, even you can learn from that even if you build these pasim and people walk through and you throw a ball or something into it, you are chayav. Next sugya, Nu Masechta. Shlomo ben Zaken is an old one, but thanks. Shlomo, don't worry about it. Yeshua had a baby girl, and he's been out of it. He has no clue that you're. I already got 3 emails from him. You telling me about Shlomo ben Zaken? I don't trust you anymore. Since you said Shlomo ben Zaken, Yeshua's sitting in my house also, and he's telling me all the new people. He's just quoting people that have been in for months. Amaret, Arois, Mutalakir of the bear. Says the Gemara, you're allowed to come as close as you want to the pit. Not as close. You have to leave 2 amas. So you have roishe v'rubai of an animal in there. Not awesome. That's it. I think he left. He took it serious. Not awesome. Ooh, I had a good picture. Menachem, if you have that picture from Kol Shan, that's the only one that I was able to find. My Gemara doesn't have one. But you guys know what it looks like. A guy's in his house, sticks his head out the window, and it's taking a drink. Or he's very thirsty and he sticks his head into somebody else. I see has a Kol Shon Sefer and he's looking through it. Or he's in the street and he sticks his head into a house and drinks. So it says you have to make sure that you have Roishe Verubai. Most of your body has to be in. Thank you, Menachem. It's coming up, Rabbi Sai. Here we go. You know what? So now I have to turn this, leave it there so I can show the YouTube chevra. Hold on. My face. Here. This is what it looks like on Zoom if you want to see. Okay. No, that's fine. I don't need the lecture for this. All right. We're back. Oh, wow. He's scrolling down Kol Shon. And here's the other picture of the guy. Fine. But it's not like a big chiddush. What's a big chiddush is, there's a whole Tosfos here talking about if a person urinates, where does it start? Where does it begin? It's very interesting. If a person spits, and he says that it's usher to spit, standing in one place, spitting to other place, obviously the same thing for ktanim, but it's a whole discussion here. Fine. Elim came machnes roish v'rubel amokim shu shoysa. So we are. What are we today? We're turning the daf. It fell out and turned the daf. We're turning to daf Chav Amud Beis. Sponsored by Asher Lilu Nishmas Rosa Bas Ben Yamin. Make it a great day. And Lilu Nishmas Mordechai Yosef Ben Aaron. Sponsored by Dr. Listhouse. V'chein begas. Oh, so there's a halacha that if you have a vineyard and you're at the wine press by the vineyards over there, you don't have to take. But I can't. It's not fair for those guys. Okay, I'm not going to tell everybody that on the screen there's some beautiful pictures. So the guy is allowed to drink straight out of the press without taking maestros. However, you have to make sure that it's roisha veruba in the press, the same halacha we just said, but in terms of meister, not in terms of Shabbos. Gabi Adam ha amar de boy roisha veruba, gabi para mi beinala roisha veruba ruba oiloi. So, does a cow need to have roisha veruba? Here's a picture of roisha veruba. Most of the cow, the two amas are past the L-shaped bracket, closer to the water. What's the concern by a cow? The concern is that if most of the cow is not inside the pasim, what if she starts moving out of the pasim and you're going to follow her and you are going to carry from within the pasim, which is the Rosh Hashanah, into the Rosh Hashanah, and that's problematic. Says the Gemara. If he's holding onto the pail and he's not grabbing her neck, the picture from Kol HaLashon shows that the guy is holding the neck, like Rashi says, not just holding onto her. Where am I? So I just want to show you this real quickly. This is from Matzah Shabbos. Matzah Shabbos work is always different. It's always special. But anyway, we have two lashonos here in the Gemara. I just want to point it out now, so you'll see the sugya is very easy. The first lashon is, wow, how'd you get that? That's already, he has this. I don't know how you got that one. You see how the red and the blue, I just did red and the blue. The first lashon is, he's holding onto the animal, and the question is, do you need roisha verubai? You're holding onto the animal. You have the red, do you need the blue? And the second lashon, later on in 20 lines from now, is, if you have the blue, you have roisha verubai. In other words, most of the cow is within the pazibirais. Do you need the red? Do you need machzik? That's how I'm going to explain the sugya really, really simple, without anything. And the sugya repeats itself word for word. So if we do this sugya right now, all 17 lines, then we get to Iked Amri, we're just going to do the same thing word for word, and we don't have to explain it really. Okay? It's the same question, just in reverse. So let's see it inside. Kol heicha, 3 lines down from the top. Kol heicha dekanoket mana v'lo noket lo. If the man is holding the pail, mana is a kli. He's holding onto a pail of water, but he's not holding onto the animal. Loiti bayalach the bayirosh of Eruvin milagav. You definitely need that the animal should be inside. Milagav, inside the pasiv most of the animal. Otherwise, you're holding onto the pail. She's going to move her head out. She's going to start moving, and you're not holding onto the cow. You're going to chase her outside of the Rosh Hashanah. You're going to be over. Kitabai. So where's the question? You're holding on to her. Do you need roisha veruba? Here the question is, do you need roisha veruba when you're holding on to an animal? You're holding on to her. You're not letting her go. Does she have to go inside? Yes or no? And the next Gemara is going to be the opposite. You have roisha veruba. She's completely inside the pasiv but you're not holding on to her. Do you need to hold on to her? That's it. What about our Mishnah? It says in our Mishnah that you must make sure that the cow is Rosh Veruba. No, is that a good answer? Here you have a case where the man's holding on to the cow, and nevertheless you need Rosh Veruba. My love, the nokalav and nokal mana. Isn't it talking about a case where he's holding on to her? Loi. The nokal mana, but nokal la. Not a great ride from our Mishnah, because we don't know that he's holding on to her. It doesn't say anywhere in the Mishnah that he's holding on to her. It says he's feeding her. And she needs Rosh Veruba. V'chi nokal mana v'lei nokal la mishari. Now wait a minute. If he's not holding on to her, how could he feed her? Even if Rosh Veruba is inside, how could he feed her? Now, this Brisa Rabbi said we're going to have twice today, word for word, like I said, but also tomorrow. So pay attention now, and you'll know better tomorrow. And tomorrow we're going to see the back end of it. Why we came up with this? Why we came up with a bayah? You should not draw water and feed your animal. But you could pour it in and let the animal drink by herself. In other words, don't hold the pail in front of her. And our Mishnah must be talking about. Our Mishnah that says you could is because you're holding on to the animal. That's the Rav of the Gemara. Says the Gemara, not a good kasha. From over there that it says that you should not feed your animal is not a good kasha. Why? Allah is that tomorrow we're going to explain. Very interesting case. Menachem, you can show them this picture. This is, according to Rashi at least, we're talking about that the cow is in a Rosh Hashanah, inside a house, says Rashi. Inside a house, sticking its head out of the window. And the trough, it goes from the Rosh Hashanah all the way into the Rosh Hashanah. It's a straight Rosh Hashanah. Now, the concern is that the person is going to, halachically, a person is allowed to take a pail and carry it all through the trough because it is a Rosh Hashanah, even though his feet, Menachem, show him where his feet are. His feet, no, keep on going outside of the, keep on going towards the house, towards the cow. Oh, his feet are in Rosh Hashanah. That's Rosh Hashanah, right where that, here, let me show you guys, right over here. This is Rosh Hashanah, but halachically, I'm allowed to carry, even though I'm standing in Rosh Hashanah, I'm allowed to carry a pail in the trough that's in the Rosh Hashanah. That's the halacha. I'm allowed to be in one place and carry in Rosh Hashanah. That's not a problem. Over here it is a problem. Why? Says Abaya, because as I'm carrying the pail, I'm going to look and I'm going to see that the trough, this is too strong. This is made out of stone. I'd like to see this made out of plastic or something. So he sees it's not really good, so he's going to have to readjust it. So how do you readjust it? You put down your pail, but he's standing in Rosh Hashanah. He's going to put the pail down in Rosh Hashanah, and now he just carried from Rosh Hashanah, the Pasib Yeroy is Rosh Hashanah, and he put it down in the Rosh Hashanah. That's a problem. Why did he put it down? Because he wants to fix the trough. Let's see it inside. That's just telling me that Avos, that trough, is a complete Rosh Hashanah from my house all the way into the Pasib Yeroy. And the end of it goes into the Pasim. What's the problem? He's going to see that there's a problem with the trough. And he's going to want to fix it. And he's going to put down the pail. And now by him putting down the pail, he just carried from a Rishus HaYachid into Rishus HaRabim. As the Gemara, we just learned Masechta Shabbos, and we know that's not a big problem in Shabbos. Why? A guy is trying to clean out his house. So he picks up a pail inside his bathroom. He wants to move it from one side of the bathroom to the other side. It's bothering him. Then all of a sudden he decided, let's go outside. He's not chayev. Why? Because in Shabbos you need meleches machshavas. You need to think about the Isser from beginning to end. So when you lift up the pail, the Akira has to be in mind that you're going to take it outside. But now that he picked it up, because he just wants to put it in another part of his bathroom, which is Rosh Hashanah, it's not a problem halachically. You're not chayiv d'oraisa. So there's no way that they made a gzeira that just in case somebody's going to do something that's completely not usher. And all of a sudden he decided to bring it outside and Rishus Harabim Patur. Why? You need meleches machsheves, and the akira, lifting it up from the ground, was not meant to bring it outside. Just later on he decided to bring it outside. Over here also, the guy decided to pick up a pail and feed his cow, and then only after he picked it up, he decided to fix the trough and then put the pail down and Rishus Harabim. That's not a meleches machsheves. Ella, so we have to fix it a little bit. So after he fixes the trough, he puts down the pail. That's not the biggest problem in the world. What's he going to do afterwards? Afterwards, he's going to forget where he's at. He's going to forget what he's doing, and then he's going to lift the pail up from the Rishus Harabim and bring it back into the Pasei B'Rois, which is Rishus HaYachid. That's a problem. Now even though it was a shaygig, he didn't mean to be over Issa Deraisa, but b'shaygig he wanted to pick it up and bring it into Rishus HaYachid. That's a problem. That's a classic example of meleches machshavas. He had in mind to lift something up from Rishus Harabim and bring it into Rishus HaYachid, even though he didn't realize what he's doing is wrong or whatever. But that's a shaygig. Now, we're going back to that. So we're doing the same sugya again, word for word. But we're going to the second lashon. The question is, what if the cow is roisha v'rubai in the Pasei B'Rois? Does he have to hold on to the cow or not? Iked amri, gabi adam hal kamrin and the sagale b'roisha v'rubai. We said by a human being, if he wants to drink, he's standing in Rishus Harabim and wants to take a good cold drink in a house, he has to stick most of his body into the window. Gabi para misagi lo b'roisha v'rubai loy. Is it enough that most of the cow is inside the addition to the cow being inside the Pasei B'Rois? If he's holding onto the pail and he's holding onto the cow, then of course, see, this is very different than what we said before. This is the exact question that we had in the first lashon, and over here the Gemara is saying, oh, it's pashut that this is okay. That's enough. What happened? Oh, it's just going off now? Hold on. I do have here. Take. What happened? It's not. Hold on. I forgot to plug it in. There's the bank is over here. Here. Yeah. Just put that in. Make sure it goes off. And click the screen where it says power. Does the screen have a, what do you call it? Give me this. Okay. No, it should work. Does it show you a thingy that there's power going in there? The Matzah Shabbos Geschmack. What? Is it saying low power still? What? The YouTube. Low battery on the phone. I need a new phone. Leon, I need a new phone because my battery's low. It's not actually, I need a new brain. Could you get me a new brain to remind me to plug in my phone to do the thing? Just kidding, Leon. It's all good. I hope to say that it's just Motzei Shabbos. That's it. No. So we're going through the whole thing. So let's bring a raya from the Mishnah. What does it say in the Mishnah? It's great. All you need is that the cow should be inside the pasim. My love, the naked manav naked law. This is a good raya. It doesn't say anywhere in the Mishnah that you're holding onto the cow. So you see, you don't have to hold onto the cow as long as the cow is mostly inside the Pasei B'Rois. So the naked manav naked law. No raya. The Mishnah is talking about that you held on to the cow. And I'll prove it to you. The naked manav naked law. Mishari. Because if you're not holding on to it, what is that allowed? It says a person should not feed your animal on Shabbos. So obviously it must be, how do you resolve the contradiction? Because our Mishnah is talking about not only is the animal inside, but you're also holding on to her. This whole Bryce is talking about that you're not holding on to it. That's how there's a contradiction. It says Mefurish, you can't feed your animal. Our Mishnah says you could feed an animal. Must be, you're holding on to it. Says the Gemara, no, we're talking about a whole different case. Hayit Marallah. Omar Abaye. Abaye explains. It's talking about a trav that goes in Rishus Harabim. It's a Rishus Hayachid. The whole trav is a Rishus Hayachid by itself. And one end ends up into the pasim. And one end, as Rashi explains, goes into the Rishus Hayachid house. And the cow is eating through the window. Sometimes they'll see that the trav is broken, but the kuni will come to fix it. And he'll throw down his pail. So it comes out that his pail went from Rishus Hayachid that are between the pasim, and he dropped it in the Rishus Harabim, and that's a problem. Is that a problem? If a person is picking up a pail in his bathroom, he wants to put it in another corner, but at the end he ended up taking it into Rishus Harabim, he's completely potter. Why? Because you need melechas masheves. Hello, we have to say, you're right. Sometimes he'll fix the trough, put down the pail, then he wasn't over yet because there's no melechas masheves. But then after he finishes fixing, then he'll lift up the pail, which is Rishus Harabim, lifting Akir in Rishus Harabim. Great. So that's the end of that. New sugya, Tashma. And this is only a raya really to Lashon number 1. What if you're holding on to the cow? You also need to make sure that the cow is positioned Roisha Veruba inside the pasim. Says the Gemara, Gamol Roisha Veruba Mifnim. Here you have a case where the camel, not a cow, camel's inside the pasim. Roisha Veruba. Oifsin Oisam Mifnim. We had this already, where you stuff the animal, you make the animal, the camel, into a trough. Meaning, you're going on a big journey through the desert. Okay, I don't know what you see over there exactly. He's showing you some camels around and a thing. I don't see the oifsim, I don't see his hand. His hand should be pushing down his neck. Fine, but you see that he's holding onto the camel really nicely, his neck. The halacha is, if the camel is Rosh Veruba inside that barn, so you could stuff the camel with food. Says the Gemara, this is a great raya. First you have Rosh Veruba, but it also says that you have to hold on to the camel. Where does it say anything about holding on to the camel? Because it says, when you stuff a camel's face, you have to hold on to its neck. Otherwise it'll go crazy. It'll try to get away from you. So you're holding on to it. So you have two things. You're holding it and you have Rosh Veruba. Isn't that a good answer to what we're saying? So here you see that in addition to holding on to it, you started out holding on to it. That should be enough. You're holding on to it and you're feeding it. Great. Why does it need Rosh Veruba? The answer is you need two things. You need red and blue. Machzikba and Rosh Veruba. That's very different. Can't bring any proof from a camel. It has a very long neck, and it could easily drag the person or make the person come after it, run after it into another rishus. That's why you have to hold on to it. But cow is different. Maybe once you have machzik, you don't have to have Rosh Veruba. Says Gemara Toshma, the same exact case, but it doesn't mention a camel. So if it doesn't mention a camel, you can't give me this excuse that it's only by a camel because it has a long neck. And what about short-necked animals like a cow? It says, Toshma behema shoroisha veruba b'fnim. You're allowed to stuff the animal, make it like a trough. But you're holding on to the neck because you're stuffing it. And in addition to that, you also need Rosh Veruba. Says Gemara, my behema nami diktani gamal. It's referring to a camel. Oh, but tayin behema tayin gamal. What? It's going to repeat itself. It's not in the same brisa. So at the end of the day, you have one brisa that talks about a camel, another brisa that talks about it doesn't say specifically camel. We're going to have to explain it's talking about a camel. Why twice? Because it's two different brises. I'll prove it to you. It says Rebbe Lezer Oyser begamal. It says mafurish. The reason why Rebbe Lezer says it's not good, you can't do evos on a camel. So you see this svara of a long neck by a camel. 2 more minutes. So We already mentioned this many times. That's why we could just learn it now. We'll get to like 4 lines down on the top of Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph. The whole idea of Pasib Berois is only for people that are doing the mitzvah of Aliyah L'Regel, something important that, and they have animals, so we made a special dispensation that they could use L-shaped brackets, even though there's way more ear space than salad. It doesn't say anything about Oile Regalim, it says animals. This is referring to the animals of those that are Oile Regel. Aval Adam, but a human being, Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph, Metapes v'Oile, Metapes v'Yored. A person could climb into the bar and climb out of the bar. It's very interesting. I forgot where I saw this, because if you look at the lashon, it's a little bit shver. Why? Because it says metapes va'ila. You climb out and then you climb in, but it has to be the opposite. First, you climb into a pit. You're not born in a pit. You're born outside. So you go into it, then you come out of it. But it teaches you your side maybe in life. This is my own thing. I don't know if this is. First, you do an aliyah. Then a shiva yipol tzaddik v'kam. First, you do an aliyah, you learn Torah, then you have a little bit of a fall, you watch, like the guy said, he watched a couple of movies, and then you go back up. But you're not in a Yerida, you're not born in a Yerida and then do an aliyah. Only for fresh drinking water. But if this is for an animal, who cares if it's fresh water or not? At the end of the day, the Pasib Berois, we're going to get into it a little bit, continue the sugya tomorrow. The Pasib Berois works when the drinking water is nice and clear that humans could drink from it. That's the only way you can do, even though it's meant for your animals. Have a wonderful week. Tomorrow morning, Rabbi Isai, 7:15. Next Motzei Shabbos is going to be a change of time, probably 9 o'clock. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Rabbi, say hello to our guest, Uncle Phil. Let's see if we could turn the YouTube also. Say Shalom Aleichem, Uncle Phil.
We crashed the party. Thank you for letting us in.
Absolutely. Well, again, you can only crash.
We brought one more gift.
Oh, there's more. Hold on.
Private winery. If you like the wine, you can give a shout out to the Binyamin Wine Club. Anybody who wants to join me?
Oh, there's a wine. It's a wine club.
Yes. But
Wow.
So you can be Mekayim the mitzvah Shemitah.
We come over, are we opening that?
No way. No way. This is for Yontif. What are you talking about?
There's only 36 bottles of those in the world.
Only 36 bottles of these in the
20
world.
left. My sons drink a lot.
Wow. Wow. Oh, wait, this is your last name?
What do you think my last name was?
I don't know. I'm saying, like, look at the Rosenmatzell. Here, put this in my wine thing over there. Shkoyach. Oh, everybody can unmute themselves. Here we go.
I gotta do this myself.
Wow. Anybody want to talk to Uncle Phil? He's here.
Leon on?
Leon is on. Avada. You want to talk to Leon?
Yeah.
Sit down. Here, come.
Every time I talk to Leon, it costs me money though. He's a good guy.
Really?
You know?
No, I didn't know that. Did you know that beforehand or no?
Second well, did I know he's my cousin?
Yeah.
No, I knew he's my cousin for a long time. Very nice guy.
Leon, he's the best.
Leon.
Leon, they're singing your praises over here. Listen, Leon, listen to this. What's worse? He says every time he talks to you, it costs him money. I say every time I talk to you, it costs me another shear. I have to give a chumash shear, I have to give a musa shear. It's terrible stuff. No, not yet. Rabbi Isai, is good stuff to see those pictures online, no?